Hello and welcome back to Money Gist. I'm Misi Dada, and here are the top 5 stories I have for you this week. Prices are still high, but people are beginning to feel like things may not be getting worse as fast as before. A new survey from the Central Bank of Nigeria shows that people's expectations about rising prices dropped slightly in January compared to December. It's just a small improvement, but at least it didn't get worse. Businesses were the main reason for this small improvement. Many business owners feel price pressure reduced a bit in January. However, very small businesses like kiosks and micro traders are still struggling the most because of high cost of goods and transportation. For families, the situation hasn't really improved much. People in rural areas feel the impact of high prices slightly more than those in the cities. What is still pushing prices up? Fuel and electricity costs are number one. When energy is expensive, everything else becomes expensive. Transportation is another big factor. The exchange rate, insecurity affecting food production, and high interest rates are also adding pressure. Official inflation dropped to 15.15% in December after the National Bureau of Statistics changed how it calculates the numbers. We are expecting the January inflation figures next week to see if prices are truly slowing down. Why does this matter? Because how people feel about inflation affects how they spend, save, increase prices, or demand higher salaries in the coming months. Nigeria made more money from selling goods to other countries than it spent buying from them in the first 9 months of last year. And that's good news. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, Nigeria sold about $44 billion worth of goods to other countries, while we bought about $33 billion. In simple terms, more dollars entered Nigeria than left. That helps reduce pressure on the naira and the foreign exchange market. But here's the important part. Most of that money still came from oil. Out of the $44 billion we exported, over 84% came from crude oil, gas, and petroleum products. Only a small portion came from other things like agriculture or manufactured goods. So, yes, the numbers look good, but if global oil prices drop, Nigeria could quickly lose that advantage. Experts say agriculture could help if Nigeria produces and exports more rice, cassava, soybeans, and other crops. We can earn more foreign exchange without depending too much on oil. Also, better refinery operations and improved dollar stability helped reduce imports. However, manufacturers say government delays and too many regulations are making it hard for them to export more goods. The main gist here is that it's good that Nigeria is earning more than it's spending internationally, but to keep this up, we must reduce our heavy dependence on oil and grow agriculture and manufacturing. That's the real challenge. In a similar fashion, Nigeria received $21 billion from foreign investors between January and October last year. That's much higher than the $12 billion that came in during the same period in 2024. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, said this increase happened because investors now have more confidence in Nigeria due to some government reforms. She explained that the government prepared over $5 billion worth of ready-to-fund projects, solved about 50 major problems that were discouraging investors, and held more than 100 investment meetings with countries like the UK, US, UAE, Japan, and Brazil. In fact, investors from the UK alone brought in about 65% of all the foreign money Nigeria received last year. On trade, Nigeria sold more goods to other countries than it bought. Total trade reached 113 trillion naira in the first 9 months of the year. Exports also increased by 11% to $6.1 billion, the highest ever. Special economic zones across the country helped generate over $500 million in exports and created more than 20,000 jobs. However, the minister says the money planned for our ministry in the 2026 budget, that is 2.72 billion naira, may not be enough to continue this progress. Going forward, the government says its focus is Nigeria first, meaning more support for local production, non-oil exports, and encouraging Nigerians to invest at home. The Central Bank of Nigeria has allowed Bureau de Change (BDC) operators to start buying dollars directly from the official market again. According to the new rule, every licensed BDC can now buy up to $150,000 per week from banks. The main goal is simple: make more dollars available and reduce the big difference between the official rate and the black market rate, which recently increased by over 90 naira. But there are strict rules. Before banks sell dollars to BDCs, they must properly check them. If a BDC doesn't use the dollars they bought, they must return the remaining amount within 24 hours. They are not allowed to keep dollars just to resell later at a higher price. All transactions must pass through banks, no third-party deals are allowed, and only 25% of any transaction can be done in cash. This is a big change because before now, BDCs were limited to just $25,000 per week, and at some point they were even stopped from buying from banks completely. Now the big question is, will this help bring down the dollar rate and stabilize the naira? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Some senators are saying the government should completely stop the electricity subsidy because it is costing the country too much money. At a 2026 budget meeting at the National Assembly, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, Adeola Olamilekan, said the government is spending trillions of naira to keep electricity prices lower for Nigerians. He believes this money is putting too much pressure on the country's finances. According to him, the government does not have enough money to take care of all its responsibilities, and continuing to pay electricity subsidy is making things worse. He says if the subsidy is removed, the government will have more money to use for other important things. He also defended the plan to borrow about 25.91 trillion naira for the 2026 budget. He said many countries borrow money, even the big economies like the US, especially when the money they expect to make does not come in fully. But some experts are warning that if the subsidy is removed, electricity bills may go up. That could make life harder for families and force some businesses to reduce operations. So the big question is, are Nigerians ready for higher electricity bills again? Drop a comment below. That's a Money Gist Top 5 at this time. I'm Missy Dada. For more updates on policies and economic developments that affect your personal finance and business, stay with Money Gist. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell. See you in the next video.